Hey, why most sales training is absolutely worthless. Listen, if you're struggling on closing, if you're struggling on prospecting, it's not because of lack of information. It's never going to be because of that. And maybe you're the type of person that's already watched a ton of YouTube training videos. That's always going to be good. It's going to get you closer to the finish line. But what I want to say today is I want to talk to you guys about specifically why most sales training is absolutely worthless. Number one, you can learn all of the information, but it's about implementation. And until your identity changes into someone who closes, you might get lucky a few times. You might just be able to memorize these scripts and be able to do these things. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be a challenge because you don't believe that's part of your persona. So let's take this contextually about like a plumbing company. So plumbing companies, they come and do service work. A lot of times people think they just come out there, they fix the stuff and they go and they leave. But a lot of times they have a process, a sales process. So maybe they come out there to fix the hot water heater. They have something else that they find that the customer actually needs to upgrade or do something about. And then the way that they present it to the homeowner is just completely asinine. Like, here's your invoice, you need to fix this because of this, rather than the sales process. But this isn't because they haven't been trained. There's a lot of plumbing companies and home service companies, they're actually doing training. In fact, what they'll do instead is they'll just be able to do this, but it's because they don't feel good about selling customers. They don't feel good about pressuring customers. They feel cringe, right? And if you're going to feel cringe, or if you're selling something and you feel cringe about your product, that's going to be a problem. It doesn't come down to, and by the way, this doesn't mean it's necessarily true or not true. It's true because you believe it. At the end of the day, you're going to dictate that. You have a belief system that's surrounded by your identity. And so if your identity says, I'm not a closer, then you're never going to be able to close. If you get a chance or an opportunity to help somebody make a good decision and persuade them, you're not going to do that because that's not in alignment with who you are. So the problem with most sales training is they're going to teach you scripts, memorize this, say this, they're going to show you how to overcome objections, but they never drill into the meat of it. In my opinion, the meat of it is the identity. Switching and changing your identity, which is built around, surrounded by beliefs. These beliefs form in who you pretend that you are. And the issue with that is that if you're not a closer and you're in sales, you're gonna bomb out. And then what's going to happen is when you quit and you go find other work, you're going to say, I told you, I'm not a closer, I'm not a salesperson, I can't do it. So often everybody tells me like, hey, I'm not a salesperson, I'm like, why? Like, how do you know you're not? Oh, I've tried selling before and I couldn't do it. So that means it's esoterically true for the rest of your life? It's kind of wild, man. I don't know. So I believe that anybody can become not just a closer, but a good closer, a top 1% closer. And it's just by doing these little shifts and tweaks on your identity for someone that a salesperson or a persuader or an epic communicator is in alignment with your identity. So let me kind of break this down to you guys. I was in a construction background. That's all I did. Like literally I was on drugs, got off drugs, got a construction job, worked that for years. And then so I was given the opportunity to be in sales. And here's the thing, I didn't think I was going to be good. I didn't know what I was going to, I didn't know what this looked like. I was like, oh, I just try this out. Like I was so sick and tired. I knew I had this potential, this great amount of strength in me. And I felt like I was wasting that in construction. By the way, you can track my belief system. There's a belief system inside that. So I believed I was built for something more. Now, sales came up. I had the opportunity to do sales, and I said, like, what are the best people doing? Well, they're training, they're working, they're outworking everybody. And it started molding into my identity. So what happened is I went out and got my ass kicked. For the first 4 months I tried door to door, I got whooped. I mean, dude, bad. I sucked. I quit, got the construction job again. I never had the ability to transfer the construction drug addict worker into a good communicator or sales guy. I never had that ability to do that. And so then, I took almost 9 months off. Actually, it was almost a year working construction, and just know that I wasn't living up to my highest potential. And a friend of mine was selling alarms down in Arizona. I was currently living in Idaho, and I was like, dude, and he was telling me how much money he was making, like $8,000 a week. And I was like, dude, you gotta understand, in the construction process, I made $30,000 for like 10 months. And so when he told me the amount of money he was making, I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. and I started to shift my identity. Even though I got my ass kicked once before, I literally, if I was looking for my identity, I'm not good at sales, I had the proof to show for it. But here's the thing I understand today. We are not the product of the decisions that we've made. We're the decisions that we're making right here, right now. And those decisions are, who do you want to be? Do you want to be an epic communicator? Do you want to help people? Do you want to be able to persuade people to make a good decision where it's a win-win? It's a win for us, it's a win for them, it's a win for everybody involved. It's about shifting that identity, right? Shifting that identity to believe that you can be capable of this and not listening to all that crap from the past that's going to roll into the future. Like, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. And then your own scorekeeper, and you're stacking up all your losses rather than looking up all your wins. The common denominator for anybody that's doing anything, that's being successful at anything, is they put the past behind them, especially all of their losses. And instead they know that the opportunities ahead of them, and they're able to shift their identity. Now, here's the thing. If maybe you're like, well, I'm not a good closer. Maybe you've been selling for somebody. Maybe you've been doing door to door, you've been getting your ass kicked, and you see other people being ultra successful in the organization. And you have a story behind that. You have a justification, and the ego can't stand being like second or third or fourth or even last on the list. And so it creates a story around that, and the story is somewhere around the identity, and we affect it, and it takes personal effect, which means, I'm not a good closer. I'm not a sales guy. I told him I wasn't a sales guy. I should just go back to doing what I was doing. And then all of a sudden, you're going to live into the story that you told yourself. So now you're going to be like, okay, I told him I was a story. I told him I wasn't a closer. I told him I wasn't a salesperson. I tried it. I gave it my all, which you really didn't. And then you're going to revert back into something that's more comfortable for you. What I want to tell you, though, is anybody has the ability and the capacity to be top 1% in the industry, any sort of sales industry. In fact, I could go to any sort of sales space out there, and I could dominate because I'm practicing principles that I've learned along the way. And the principles I've learned along the way is to literally work on the inner so that I can have the reflection on the outer as a result of all that work that I've done. And part of that is just believing my identity, knowing that, like, dude, the world's an oyster, right? Like, I have the ability. I'm not a product of the decisions I made. The results of my life currently are a product of those decisions, but just because I made bad decisions and I had bad belief systems once before doesn't mean I have to carry that into the future. No longer do I have to carry that into the future. This is the greatest relief I've ever had, is understanding and realizing this, that I am not my decisions I've made in the past. I'm the decisions I'm making now, in the here and now. I choose to be successful. I choose to be wealthy. I choose to be a child of God. I choose to be a good husband. I choose to be a good father. I choose to be someone that leans into it when it gets hard. And here's the thing, once you make that shift, and it might not happen all at once, it'll happen maybe gradually, right? So sometimes it's not like, I made a decision and all of a sudden my life is infinitely better and I'm living out like this. No, because now there's a space of time that has to go by. But once you start believing that you can make new decisions and that you're not a product of the decisions that you made in the past, you create momentum. So maybe it's the time that you were supposed to go prospect, you're supposed to knock a door, you're supposed to do a sales call. You didn't do it because you were fearful and you made a bad decision, and then you stack up a bunch of those losses, and then that's your story that you're telling yourself. Now, here's the thing. You can also stack up a bunch of W's, and that's your new story. And you can look and reflect on the times that you won and the times that you were successful. So the biggest thing when I'm helping anybody, it's about finding their limiting beliefs, understanding what their identity is, and shifting their identity. And by the way, this doesn't just work for salespeople. This works for customers. I'm always identifying limiting beliefs because they'll tell you what the limiting belief is. And then I understand exactly what their identity is. And then I want to frame the offer around their identity. Hey, you're someone that, is very risk adverse. You like making safe decisions. You've made a lot of safe decisions. I look at your life today. Looks like you've made good decisions. You probably made a couple bad ones, but for the most part, you're a very safe decision maker. Would you agree? Yes, you would. That's exactly why I want you to make a decision to do this, because this is safe if you look at it. And it's in alignment with your goals, needs, and desires. So the thing with this is like the basis of all of my training. And by the way, it's applicable on both sides, on selling if you're a salesperson and also on the customer side. It's literally going to be identity. I truly believe that whatever my identity is, my life will form around that. I will create the life that coincides and is in alignment with my identity. My question to you today is, what's your identity? Have you ever even thought about it? What are the stories that you're telling yourself? How many limiting beliefs are running your life today? What sort of limiting story is running your life today? And I'm here to tell you, you can break that limiting belief, you can break that limiting story, and you can be whatever it is that you want to be. And it sounds kind of corny, sounds kind of cliche, but I promise you, that's how it works. And I'm always evolving and changing. I'm stepping into a new chapter of my life. I've been the #1 solo rep in the nation for the last 5 years. Now I'm switching into helping people, be better communicators, be epic communicators, but be better persuaders, to make sure that it's a win-win, to sell with integrity. And so you can find more information in the link down below. I would love to collaborate with you and see if I can help you at all. I have an extensive training program that we actually go down to the basis, and I show you how to uncover all of these limiting beliefs and limiting stories so that you can be the best version of yourself, not just for you, but your future legacy as well. For your current family, your future legacy, and for the customers that you serve. You want to be the best version of yourself so that you can serve them at a much higher level. So, love you guys. Let's have a great day and let's live our life. Bye.